Well, most people won't get their hands on an iPad until this weekend at the earliest, but we have got one right here at Bloomberg. Bloomberg executive editor Rich Jaroslovsky has been putting this tablet through some of the paces. You just received it, right? And what do you think so far?
Well, it is a really gorgeous device. We just had a meeting with Apple. They showed us some things we had seen at the launch event in January, but other things are things that we hadn't seen before. And we're still sort of getting the hang of it,
well,
but
the key
it's
is functionality,
very nice.
right? Is it going to essentially replace the laptop? And so far,
it has that capacity. Now, whether or not that's the way people choose to use it is a sort of an open question. But Apple has its productivity suite of applications, a word processor, et cetera, that have been totally re-engineered to work on this, and it's really, they're very slick.
Now, Rich, we actually have it on screen right now. So just to demonstrate for our viewers just some of the applications and what, just what the potential is.
Sure. Well, let me show you, for example, this is the ebook reader, and a lot of people will start with this. If you open a book, you can see, compared, for example, to a Kindle, this is a much more book-like experience. And what I found very cool was the fact that, if you start to open a page and then stop, it's like a book.
Right.
You can see both pieces. It mimics it. There's an accelerometer, so you can, it'll automatically readjust. It is heavier than a Kindle, for example. It's about 1.5 pounds as opposed to the Kindle.
And Nick, from by the way, guys, this is Nick Thompson from Wired magazine. Nick, I mean, it can replace the Kindle, but as you just mentioned, it's 1.5 pounds. It's not exactly, it's not exactly light.
Well, it's not clear it will necessarily replace the Kindle. Amazon has a much larger bookstore. For reading
400,000 books,
400,000
right?
as opposed to, say, I think it's 60,000 for the iPad. There are also differences in where you read. If you like to read in the dark, having a screen that's backlit like the iPad is much better. If you like to read at the beach, having e-ink like the Kindle is much better. So for some people, the Kindle will be a better device. For some people, the iPad will be a better device. Also, it may be an advantage or it may be a disadvantage. The Kindle doesn't have a whole lot of other stuff in it. So it doesn't have a whole lot of distractions. So in some ways, it's easier to immerse yourself. Less can be more. But for other people, the fact that the iPad does 12 million things, whereas the Kindle does one thing, will be a huge advantage of the iPad.
And what I'm hearing more and more is just that, this is great if you're somebody who uses the computer to surf the web, you want to look at photos, you want to email, but not if you're doing spreadsheets, right? So this is not exactly going to replace your usual laptop then.
It actually depends who you are. I mean, the big question, this thing is going to succeed to a certain extent. The question of whether it will really succeed is whether it replaces the laptop, right? And it will for people where the main thing they use computers for is Facebook, email, maybe book reading, listening to music. If social networking is what you do on your laptop right now, the iPad can probably replace it. If spreadsheets or writing books or writing long documents or writing long emails, it may not, because the keyboard's a little confusing and hard to work and frustrating. So for a lot of people, it won't replace the laptop. We're going to see over time how big those two groups are.
And over the weekend, guys, I mean, what are we going to be watching out for specifically? I mean, we know we're going to see the lines of people outside the Apple stores, but
that's all engineered. I mean, it's going to be engineered so that it looks like a huge success. We don't know how many will sell. The iPhone sold 270,000 its first weekend. Estimates are that the iPad will sell 300K, maybe 400K. If it beats the iPhone, well, I'll judge that a success.
Rich?
Now, one of the things that I think you want to look for is how much content shows up quickly. Apple told me that they're expecting about 1,000 specially tailored apps for the iPad at launch on Saturday. And one of the things to watch for is how quickly that builds, because what it really needs is cool content, cool applications, and so that's the thing to keep an eye on. Meanwhile, of course, you've got close to 150,000 apps that already run on the iPhone and the iPod Touch, which will run on this as well.
Okay. All right, Rich, Nick, thanks so much for joining us, and I'm going to actually touch this iPad during the break.